You're listening to The Phillip Jordan Show.
What's up, everybody? Welcome in. It is a new week. It is Monday morning when we're releasing this episode. I am your host, Phillip Jordan, in-studio host and producer of Bethel Football on 96.9, the legend and Auburn writer for Last Word on college football. Once again, thank you for listening to today's episode of The Phillip Jordan Show. And we have a very fun show for you guys today. I always say we have a great show. I say that a lot, and I know that. We really do today. I am going to be joined in just a few short moments by Troy head football coach Gerad Parker. Coach Parker on. We did an interview on Friday. We discussed many different things. How's the last couple months been at Troy? Why did he decide to take the Troy job? And we talked about spring practice, quarterbacks, wide receivers, defense, a lot of cool stuff. We'll talk with Coach Parker. And then after that, I will go over some news and headlines from throughout the weekend. You can check out the Phillip Jordan Show podcast over at wiregrassdailynews.com or wherever you get your podcasts. If you're on Apple Podcasts, please follow, rate, and review. Leave a review, and I will read it on a future edition of the show. And if you leave just 4 stars, you are just a straight-up hater. You can email me at sports.phillipjordan@gmail.com. All right, everybody, joining us on the show today is new Troy head coach, Gerad Parker. Coach Parker, I appreciate you coming on the show today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad to have you. Always a fun time talking about all things Troy. Of course, down here in Dothan, we're about 45 minutes, an hour away from Troy. But I just want to talk to you, how's these last 2.5 months been for you? You know, since you took the job, the move to Troy, how's everything been going for you?
Well, first off, thanks for asking. It's such a whirlwind of everything you could imagine, but I still can't believe, we're 2.5 in so many ways. You think, okay, it's felt like 5 months, but to say that we've been here about 2.5 months and to know that much time has passed is pretty amazing how quick it all goes. Just told the team last night, we finished a huge cycle of training last night and had a huge night workout under the lights. And, our guys have deserved and earned a well-deserved spring break coming up, and so is our staff. And so what all we've already been through and what all happens, this world of college football and all that it is, it's amazing what you go through in building relationships in college football. It's just speed dating. It's fast. It's furious. We got, I think, 28 new staff members and upwards of 40 new players and all the things that go into that. And it's amazing how you can make it all work. So it's been fast. It's been great. The people of Troy, the Troy University and all of it, I could not say enough good things about how they've treated us and welcomed us here.
Definitely sounds like getting to know a lot of people very quickly in this time.
That's exactly right. It's been wild.
Oh, and just talk about the hiring process when you took the job. What stood out about Troy to you?
Well, this is a great question, and I mean that, and it's a question that I've answered a decent amount, and I really mean this. Like when I looked at it selfishly, I'll admit, I always told myself, told my wife, told my kids, and certainly after being at some great universities like Notre Dame and like Penn State and some places, when winning is expected at a high level, it taught me very quickly, like if I was ever going to get an opportunity to be a head coach, I wanted to do it at a place that expected to win the same way, that expected to win championships, and a place that you knew you could recruit well and coach a type of kid that would maybe reflect also how I grew up and how I had to go through the coaching profession and things. And so that's number one. Troy has a winning tradition. It's won for a long time. And that's a place that I wanted to be a part of and hopefully hire a staff to be a part of it. And then the second piece that I've said is certainly the community of Troy. It matches how my wife and I were raised. It represents everything that I hope that I represent in being blue collar and being a chip on your shoulder guy and being a community that wraps themselves around a place the way it does. that's how we grew up, and it's a place that was very attracting to me and my wife.
Yeah, definitely. If you're not from the state of Alabama or from even around Troy area, if you were to drive through on a Saturday, and you would know that football is being played and it is a football community the way it does there at Troy. What was your first reaction from the team? First time you stood in front of your team?
Well, we've talked a lot about that. I'll say this: it was a tough meeting. I think I would imagine that that would go way different. But to be fair, they were going through a lot. That first meeting was a lot on them. They were getting ready to prepare to play in their bowl game. They had just lost their head coach. The staff, in many ways, was divided, and many were going elsewhere and going on after the game. There was a lot of emotions in the room. So it was my job at that point to understand that team meeting wasn't about me. And so it was just a time for me to meet them where they were and understand that, hey, here's who this new guy is. Give me a chance to earn your trust and respect. And I really hope that by the time we get to about right now, you at least have an understanding of who we'll be as a staff and I'll be as a head coach. And that's all I tried to make sure and pass on to them at that point. So those team meetings are way better and got way different energy now. But it certainly was a start that I'll always remember.
Most definitely, most definitely. And as you mentioned, you come in mid-December and you got to hit the ground running, recruiting, and knocked out a ballpark. One of the, a lot of recruiting services, one of the best classes Troy has ever had. Just what went into the work and just getting those players in. A lot of new players coming to the program.
Sure. Phillip, you said it. That's the word, work. I mean, we had to exhaust every relationship we had through all avenues. Our junior college recruiting piece, high school recruiting relationships all over this state and states surrounding, and of course, all the relationships we had built on our staff through Power Five and Group of Five football teams and 1AA as well. Like just finding every resource we could to find players to help to replace a roster that has certainly taken big hits in a lot of places. So that was it. We just went to work in it, and I couldn't be more pleased with what our recruiting staff and, of course, our on-field coaches and everybody did to gain information about these guys to make sure we took the guys that were right for Troy.
And I know, looking at social media during that process, the hashtag Troy Takeover. Just talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, we tried to, branding and a piece of some good wording on social media would never hurt you, right? So we tried to find something that was catchy that we knew we wanted to play off of to make our guys feel a part of a class and a change. And so we kind of stumbled upon that through our recruiting office, and everybody said, heck yeah, it sounds pretty good. So Troy Takeover it was, and I think we went on a run there of 20 some odd days where we had a commit every day. So it was good momentum. It was good for us. I think our current players and current roster, as well as our fan base, needed to see us, acquire talent and take a step after what we lost, and it's something we had to do. So it was good to play on it off the Troy Takeover.
I know you talked about the players going on spring break, but then on the 19th, y'all get going with spring practice. What are you most excited about with getting spring practice going?
Well, at its purest form, I mean this, and I hope I would pray this goes viral because this is about our program. This is the purest form of football that there's left in college athletics. If anybody wants to come down to Troy, Alabama and take a little trip and come watch us practice and be a part of how our guys work and how our staff works and some of the things we don't have to deal with yet, come watch us practice. That's what I'm most excited about. I think our guys love playing football. I think they want to be coached hard. They're edgy. We compete. And I can't wait for us just to get out on the grass. That's still the purest form of coaching. And all the things that we have to deal with now in this age kind of go away when you get on the grass. So I'm just excited for our staff and players to put shoulder pads and a helmet on and do what we all love doing the most, which is be out there doing that. So I cannot wait for these 15 practices.
It's got to be exciting to know it all, ends with the T-Day game on April 27th. Your first opportunity to be out there with your team in front of the Troy fans.
Absolutely. Excited about T-Day. It's going to be a fun day on April 27th. I know we've already got an itinerary sitting down from my boss. Brent has sent me an itinerary of scheduled events, and we've got a day planned for the kids, for our families, our current roster families, so we get them fed and get to meet some of them and meeting with donors and all kinds of things. So we got a full day plan and certainly praying for good weather and a fun showing for us on that day.
Obviously, everybody, especially does this on my side. Everybody wants to hear about the quarterback. But before I ask about your current quarterback room, just what do you look for in a quarterback?
Well, it's funny. I just told you we got done with a street staff little Waffle House trip to up the training cycle, and I'll say that for me, I think the most important piece of the quarterback position, it's the most important piece of any football team that there is, right? I mean, this is why there's millions of dollars spent in every regard in the NFL and all those things because of how important that position is, and no different here. The things that you look for are stuff that I believe we all talk about all the time, right? Like to be a great decision maker. He's got to have great leadership skills and be able to lead that locker room. That's more critical than a lot of things we don't talk about. If he can be a great decision maker and get us in and out of plays and take care of the football and have great leadership skills that take over a locker room, you can fix a lot of things. Arm talent and all those other things sure help it, Phillip. But at its core, if he's a great decision maker and leader, we can win with that type of person.
And obviously too, the guy that had been at quarterback last few years for Troy, Gunnar Watts, several years, show those qualities as you mentioned as a leader. And obviously, obviously he's gone. You got to find a new quarterback. I know Goose Crowder's the most experienced guy you got on your roster. But those players being around him, how important do you think that is for their development?
Well, I think it's there's no question about it. It's huge. I think anytime that, and Sam Hartman taught us all that at Notre Dame. I think anytime you can surround your team and especially a position like quarterback around a guy that's been a veteran that knows how to prepare for games, that puts in the work it takes to prepare and also then go through off seasons to get your wide receivers, tight ends, and backs to throwing sessions. All those are the intangible things it takes to play the position. And so if you've had somebody to model that for you, it's easier to take into that role when you get the opportunity. And so I think it's critical for those guys to have seen a guy like Gunnar. And then, of course, now it's like, all right, pay it forward. Do the same thing. Do it even better. And I think when you see that modeled, it's easier to step into it.
Just kind of a vague question, but when you look at your quarterback room, what do you like?
Well, the three guys that are in it right now that'll be there for spring, they're all three workers. I love the fact that it's built on that, right? They study the game. They love the game. They're all three competitive guys. That's Jameson and Tucker and Goose. And those three guys are going to get a ton of reps. I wish we had a little bit more depth for arms and those things to throw routes on air and stuff at times. But those three guys are going to get a ton of reps. I love what they're about. I do love their wiring. They're all students of the game. And they're all very eager to learn a new offense and come in and do this the right way. So that's the first thing I've seen from this point until we start practice.
Of course, with quarterback, the receivers, and of course, position you played yourself. You've coached receivers and tight ends also in previous stops. Just wide receiver Chris Lewis, and every time I turned on the game for Troy last year, it seemed like he was making a one-handed catch, a big play. He had 10 touchdowns last year. Devontae Ross was the same way. I mean, it felt like he was making a big play every time, every game you turn on Troy game. Just talk about your receivers a little bit. What you see with that grouping.
Well, I've been very charged watching them work out and prepare for spring. It's a gifted room, a room that can run. Those names mentioned are certainly guys that highlight it, but there's some guys that are going to be surprising this spring that I think are really going to take some big steps. We just, Coach Banks done a great job preparing him to this point, and keeping him here has allowed us to have some feelings of at least knowing that room a little bit better where they haven't had to start over, so to speak. I'm really excited to see them all compete. I think we should have high expectations of the room, and we will. It's certainly just going to be a chance for them to go out and take another step, and we want to empower them to continue to improve and get there.
I didn't want to miss the defense go again. That's an important group as well. Troy fans are used to seeing a really good defense that gets after quarterback, and that's over a decade. I mean, the talent you see that has made it to the National Football League from that side of the ball. And obviously, your defense coordinator, Dante Wright, who you have a long time relationship with. What is your vision for the defense?
Well, you're exactly right, Phillip. I hope we better play the same caliber of defense been played around here for a while. It's allowed them to win championships. They've done a fine job around here for some time, and we want to just continue to pick that up where it's left off. Starts with great players and great coaching, great scheme. We're continuing to work on that every day. But there's an edge to this place, and our guys expect to play great defense here. And I know Coach Wright and his staff expect the same. So I hope when you turn on the film, I certainly hope that you see a very motivated football team that runs and attacks the ball. I told Coach Wright and the staff, like, we're going to be judged on how hard they play, how physical we are, and how we disrupt the ball. That's it. If those are our measurables, my guess is we'll be okay on defense. So I'm hoping we look great at those when you turn on the tape.
Yeah, that's right. It's always a favorite thing for a head coach, defensive coordinator. We see the other quarterback in distress. That's always a good thing for you. Oh, and lastly, before I let you go, just anything else we didn't talk about here about the Troy program you'd like to tell the folks about?
Well, just this will always and forever, when I get a chance to, and you ask, I'll say that we need your support. We need your continued support. We need everybody's support now, in the summer and in the fall for sure, to come over to the vet and come support us in home games, get in the car and drive and come see us on the road. We promise to put a product out there that everyone will be proud of, and certainly working towards that now. And then just a quick thank you to the entire community and Troy Nation for just taking care of us and wrapping their arms around us and welcoming a whole new crew of families and kids and all those things. So just continued support, and a huge thank you to everybody at this point. We look forward to seeing everybody here soon.
Absolutely. I know for sure I'll be at the Texas State game, that weekday
Wonderful.
game that I'll be coming up to Troy for that during the season. I'll be at T-Day too. And Coach, I hope y'all have a great spring. I know you're looking forward to it. I look forward to seeing y'all at the T-Day game, and I appreciate you taking the time and coming on the show today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
96.9 The Legend is your connection to classic country legends. But Digio Strategies has other options too. News Talk 103.9 is your source for America's top news and entertainment shows, like Rick and Bubba in the morning, Glenn Beck from 9 till 11 a.m., and Clay Travis and Buck Sexton middays from 11 a.m. till 2 p.m. Sean Hannity, Lars Larson, Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh, and others fill your day with the latest news and views from America's top conservative voices. America at Night and Coast to Coast AM keep you company and connected throughout the night. Plus, Fox News, the Alabama Radio Network, and Wiregrass Daily News keep you informed with national, international, state, and local news. And with more musical choices like All the Hits 106.7 KMX, Today's Country 95.5 WTVY, and Music 107.7, Digio Strategies gives you more choices and more variety. Listen on air, online, and on our apps. 96.9 The Legend is just the beginning.
All right, and once again, thanks to Troy head coach Gerad Parker. Really appreciate it. That was a lot of fun having him on the show. That was my first time interviewing an active or current college football coach. I've interviewed retired ones or ones that weren't coaching at the time. That's the first time doing that. So appreciate him coming on the show, taking the time, and I hope you really enjoyed that conversation. And go support the Troy Trojans. Like I said, April 27th is T-Day, and then, of course, the upcoming season as well when they get things going. And they have one weekday game, Thursday night game at Texas State. That'll be in your season as well. But go check out Troy Saturday, Thursday, whatever day they play. Go check out the Trojans. Let's get out of here. We'll get some couple news items before we get on out of here. And in the football world, I thought this was interesting, and I've seen this talked about. Per John Orand, the NFL is trying to get the college football playoff to move at least one game to a Friday. The college football playoff is set to have one game on Friday, December 30th, and then 3 games on Saturday, December 21st. But the NFL usually does play games on Saturdays that late in the season. They start playing. So usually the two do avoid each other mostly. I know a little bit of Thursday night stuff, but there's never any big games on Thursday night college football. But I don't know, is the NFL worried that their ratings will get hurt if they are going up against college football, vice versa? John Allred also had this to say. He says, sources tell me the NFL knows that it's unlikely the college football playoff will move all 3 games off of that Saturday. It's a new tactic to convince the college football playoff to move at least one of those games from Saturday to Friday. There is already a game on Friday, in that this would allow for 2 games on each day. This appears to be the most likely scenario, but it'll be fascinating to watch the game of Vulcan chess play out. He also alluded to that the safe bet is on a compromise. So if maybe you do move one of those games to Friday, Well, you do that. The only thing about that, that's on the 20th, and there'll be a lot of people working. Or do you, okay, if we have late West Coast teams, you play a little bit later, and you maybe could do a 6-9 situation. Our time, Central Time here in Alabama. I don't know, but I think college football should stay pat. They should say, hey, we're going to do what we're going to do. The NFL, you do not get to have everything. This comes from a guy that watches NFL. Super Bowl's one of my favorite days of the year. Love the NFL draft. Love everything about what NFL does. I love football. Just love the sport. But at the same time, the NFL, you don't have to have everything your way. Let college football have this. It's one Saturday. Just play your games on Sunday like the NFL is supposed to be played. So I don't know. If I was college football, I would stand pat, but more than likely, I feel like it will go this way, where they will move to a game to a Friday to appease the NFL. Missouri lands transfer quarterback Drew Pine. Per Pete Thamel of ESPN, former Arizona State and Notre Dame quarterback Drew Pine tells ESPN that he's committed to Missouri. Pine took a visit this weekend and said he committed while in Columbia. He'll enroll this summer and have 3 years of eligibility remaining. In 2022, when he played for Notre Dame, he threw for over 2,000 yards and 22 touchdowns with just 6 interceptions. He then went on to transfer to Arizona State for the 2023 season, but he only played in 2 games there. So we'll see without Missouri how that shakes out. Of course, he won't be there, obviously, for the spring. Let's see how he gets acclimated to the team moving forward. Tremendous talent. We saw that in 22, but then last year he only got to play in 2 games. Alabama lands a 2025 commitment. 2025 four-star athlete Zamir Smith announced his commitment to Alabama. Smith chose the Crimson Tide over programs Georgia and Tennessee. Smith plays for North Carolina High School in Denton, Maryland. He's listed at 5'2", 160 pounds. He is being recruited to play defensive back at the college level. As a junior, Smith recorded 22 tackles and 3 interceptions. He joins fellow commits there, defensive lineman Antonio Coleman, linebacker Miles Johnson, and running back Anthony Rogers. And now some news on some former Alabama players that are now in the National Football League finding new teams. Quarterback Mac Jones, of course, a couple years ago was a first-round draft pick by the New England Patriots. He will be traded to the Jags. ESPN's Mike Reese reported on Sunday that the former first-round pick will be getting traded for a 2024 sixth-round pick. Many people expect the Patriots to take a quarterback with that number 3 pick, possibly Drake May or Jake Daniels. And I've actually seen a lot more people thinking Jake Daniels could be the number 2 quarterback, so they may be stuck with Drake May if they were New England, with the Commanders having the number 2 pick. Mac Jones is from Jacksonville, so he'll be returning home. As a rookie, he showed promise. He threw for 3,801 yards and 22 touchdowns to lead the Patriots to a 10-7 record to make the playoffs. The only time they have made the playoffs post Tom Brady. But he went the opposite direction for all 2 years. I think most of that is mishandling of him and not having a proper offensive coordinator. Josh McDaniels was the offensive coordinator his first year there in New England when he played so well. Then he got the Las Vegas Raiders job, and then Bill Belichick, I don't know what he was thinking here, went with defensive coordinator Matt Patricia, became the offensive play caller in this past year, Bill O'Brien, in 2023. And there have been some stuff out there that Bill Belichick never wanted Mac Jones. That was forced upon him. So let's see what Mac Jones will. He'll go to the Jaguars, probably back up Trevor Lawrence. But we'll see what he can do with Doug Peterson. I think this is also a message being sent to Trevor Lawrence to play better. And I really like what Doug Peterson can do with quarterbacks. Maybe he thinks he can fix Mac Jones or correct what was done wrong with him the last 2 years. Like I said, New England messed him up. Bill Belichick messed him up the last 2 years. And then wide receiver Jerry Jeudy is being traded to the Browns from the Broncos. Now, this comes from Saturday. ESPN's Adam Schefter reported that the Broncos were trading wide receiver Jerry Jeudy to the Cleveland Browns for a 2024 5th and 6th round pick, potentially pairs him with Amari Cooper and tight end David Njoku, also with quarterback Deshaun Watson returning. When Joe Flacco got signed, and then he helped lead the team to the postseason. And some basketball stuff too as well. We talked last week with Dan Peck, of course, of ESPN 106.7 in Auburn, also Auburn Reserve, but he's also the Troy women's play-by-play broadcaster. They lost on Friday 67-65 to Louisiana in the quarterfinals of the Sun Belt Conference Tournament down in Pensacola. Jemiah Hollings had 23 points, 12 rebounds in the loss. I would say we're not going to see Troy in the women's NCAA tournament, maybe the women's NIT. Now, if anybody's interested, the women's Sunbelt Championship game will be played Monday at 1 o'clock on ESPNU. James Madison versus Marshall. And the Troy men, they also lost in the quarterfinals. They lost to Texas State on Saturday night, 74-68. The Bobcats were led by Jordan Mason in that game with 25 points. That was a third straight win for Texas State. Tatum Conaway for the Trojans had 16 points and 5 assists. And now moving over to Alabama Auburn, they both picked up wins on Saturday to get themselves in the double bye situation in the SEC tournament. Alabama came back from 15 points to defeat Arkansas, 92-88 in their game, and that gives, like I said, gives the Tide that double bye. They will not play until Friday in the SEC quarterfinals. Latrell Wrightsell Jr. had 20 points in the game, and he had the game-tying 3 there at the end of regulation. And then Sam Walters had 7, plus he had a go-ahead 3-pointer there in overtime. Mark Sears had 22 in the game. Auburn had an easier time with Georgia as they defeat them 92-78 to gain the double by Denver Jones, season-high 21 points on 7 of 9 3-point shooting. And for people watching on YouTube, the bracket is up on the screen. We will get things kicked off on Wednesday. Vanderbilt and Arkansas, Missouri and Georgia. Like I said, Alabama and Auburn will not play until Friday in the quarterfinals. Auburn will play the winner of South Carolina. So South Carolina is waiting on the winner of Vanderbilt, Arkansas. So that winner will play South Carolina. Then that winner will play Auburn. And for Alabama, we'll have Missouri and Georgia playing on Wednesday. The winner of that game will play Florida, and that winner of that game will play Alabama on Friday. Tennessee got the 1 seed, of course. Kentucky got the 2. I think had Tennessee beaten Kentucky, which they didn't, even though Dalton Connect had 40 points. Kentucky got the 2, tiebreakers, all stuff, but Auburn did not get the 2. So we could see a Tennessee-Auburn matchup in the semifinals on Saturday. Mississippi State winner for them and LSU, they will play Tennessee on Friday. And then for Kentucky, they'll meet the winner of Ole Miss and Texas A&M. So, and that is going to do it for this edition of the Phillip Jordan Show. I try to keep it under 30 minutes. So we hope you enjoyed, again, my conversation with Coach Gerad Parker. That was really a fun interview to do. I will be back on Wednesday. Scheduled to be joined by my buddy Taylor Jones from the Auburn Wire. We'll talk all things Auburn football. I'll sneak in some basketball talk there as well. So we will be doing that, and perhaps may have somebody on later on the week to talk all things LSU. They have got spring practice going as well. So plenty of spring practice to talk about. Plenty of stuff coming out of NFL as we march on to the NFL draft. March Madness is upon us. So many different things to talk about in the world of sports right now. So plenty more coming up here on the show. Remember, you can follow me on social media at PJordanSEC. Podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you're on Apple Podcasts, please follow, rate, and review. Leave a review. I will read it on a future edition of the show. And if you leave just 4 stars, you were just a straight-up hater. You can also check out the show over at WiregrassDailyNews.com and my YouTube channel, Phillip Jordan Sports YouTube page. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell for all notifications. Please leave a comment on the video. I'll also read those on a future edition as well. You can email me at sports.phillipjordan@gmail.com and read all my written work over at Last Word on college football. Hope everybody has a great Monday. And until then, bye-bye.